Okay, so now there are certain versions. This is not important, but just as an aside. So there used to be an HTTP 1.0, then came HTTP 1.1, and now it has come HTTP 2. But 1.1 continues to be the standard for a large number of websites even now, right? Okay. So let's see what it looks like. So I've put a diagram here. So on the left hand side, this is the request. This is the HTTP uh, header specifying the request. So this is the HTTP specifying the request, and this is for the response. So it is consisting of three things. The first is the start line. The second is the header. Then there is a blank line, and then there is a body. So just let me repeat. There is a start line for both the response and the request. Then there is a header. Then there is an empty line, and then there is a body. So start line, header, empty line, and body. So let us look at these in details. So start line describes the request to be implemented or its status of whether success or failure, right? The start line is always a single line. Let me just, this is going off the screen. So this is the start line, an optional set of HTTP headers. So start line, this is the start line post this thing, and this is the start line of the response. So it now we'll talk about this each of these terms in details, but just understand this is a start line. Then optional set. See, start. This is not optional. This is compulsory. This is also compulsory, but this header, this header may consist of anything. It may be. This can be. This is optional. This is optional, or and similarly, then there's a blank line and there is a body. This also is optional. So technically, you could have a request, HTTP request, which consists only of the start line and nothing else, because the header and the body are both optional, right? Similarly, the response is there. Now let me just go over these each one of them. So the first line in the start line is always with a fixed number and a positional argument HTTP method. This we'll talk about this. And this is followed by a line in name, value, header pair until eventually empty line. So basically, let me just don't get this thing. Let me just show it to you. No. All right. Just one sec. I'm just looking for. So in the start line, this post is the verb which is there. I told you there are many verbs. Post, it could be post, it could be get, it could be update, it could be delete, like that. So in this particular request of which screenshot I've shown, that is a post, and the response is HTTP 1.1, and this HTTP 1.1 is a protocol which is there on both sides, and this 403 is a status code. I'll tell you about this also, status code, which will tell you what kind of response will be there and a brief description of this thing. And then the body consists of key value pairs separated by colons. So they are key value pairs separated by colons, separated by colon, colon, which is this. So this is what the body consists of, and then the header consists of, and then the body, right? Okay. So let us, this is the thing of a header, body, and then so in the response, technically it is not called the start line, it is called the status line. So the first line of the response is a status line. It is called, contains the following, the protocol version HTTP 1.1, a status code. We'll talk about the status code. For example, code 200 means good, 400 means not, something wrong, like that. A failure or a request or a success. And common status codes are 200, 404, and 302. We'll talk about the status codes. A status text, informational text of the status code to help a human understand the HTTP. For example, if you see the one I had posted here, the screenshot. So this message is forbidden. So this 403 is a status code, and it indicates you are trying to access a resource which is forbidden for you. For example, maybe you are trying to enter something which is not allowed, you're not allowed to see, or something like that. So that kind of response is there, right? So I think I've covered, the rest you can read, and this little bit, this is there. You can read all that. Okay. So this let me just stop for a second here, and let me just understand that you guys are able to follow about the HTTP, request and response structures. Anybody has any question? We can stop for a minute, discuss. Otherwise, we'll move forward.
Sir, HTTP and HTTPS both have the same thing, sir?
Yeah, both have the same this thing. We'll talk about that also if we get time. There's basically, if there's a thing called a PKI, public key infrastructure. Basically, if there is if the server is having a PKI infrastructure where they are exchanging the public key, and the public key matches with the public key of that server available on the machine of the client, then the client would like to know that the server is actually who he is, right? So if you have done little bit of cryptography, then you may be knowing about a concept of public key, private key, or which is called public key encryption, where there is a key pair. So the public keys are available, or we'll talk about that. We'll cover that. But HTTPS is following the same protocol as HTTP, with the difference that there is a additional requirement of a public-private key pair, which is shared between the server, not the private key, the public key, there's a handshake kind of a thing between the server and the client, which ensures that the server is a good guy, not a bad guy. Does it make sense?
Right, sir. Right, sir. Thank you, sir.
So, okay. So let us move to the next topic. That is who is. So who is the goal? A simple portable Python which will produce who is data for the given domain. So who is basically is a small Python module whereby you can get the details of a particular domain. For example, Google or GitHub or wherever you can get it. It is able to extract all the popular TLDs. By the way, for those who don't know, TLD means level domains. Top level domains. So it is able to. I will show you. We will be doing this top level domains, right? So if you are into writing your own scripts, you need to install this who is by using this command, pip. I hope all of you are you guys all familiar with pip. Anyone who doesn't know pip?
No, sir.
No means what? You are not familiar?
Yes, sir. I'm not familiar with pip.
Pip is basically a command for installing libraries on the Python for your this thing, right? So the format is pip, then install, and then name of the module of the other file, right? I'll show it to you. So okay, let me just then I'll have to go to my command prompt. So let me just anaconda. Just a second. For example, I say pip install pandas. I think it is there on my system, but let me just see. Right. So just I would like to show this to. So I've gone to the command prompt and I put pip install pandas. Right. So requirement. So it is talking about something warnings it is giving. Then requirement already satisfied pandas. It is giving the path also where pandas is there on my computer. Requirements already. Now pandas in turn depends upon other modules called PyTZ, NumPy, and 6. So these three are also there on my system. In case they were not there, then the way the Python libraries are constructed is that they are smart enough to know that these are not there. So they will ask you, okay, this needs this module, this needs that module, and then if you say yes, then it will go on, right? So I hope you have understood pip. Try it out. So, but you can run pip even on your Anaconda. I'll show you. You can run pip on your Anaconda. For example, this here. But you have to start it with a bang. This is this symbol. This symbol is called a bang. This exclamation mark. This is called a bang in computer science. Bang something, or it's called exclamation. Exclamation mark. So you can do a pip on your Jupyter notebook also by starting the command with the bang. I'll show you. Just so you can do pip install pandas. So let me run it. So it will take a second because yeah. So you can just see I'm getting the same message. Requirements already satisfied. So basically, this thing is converting this particular cell into a what it has become a command prompt. So if I put it now, suppose I remove it. If I remove it, then there will be an error. I'll just show it to you. If I just remove this, if I remove it and I run it again, there should be an error. But these days, oh, it is giving even without. so this used to be an error earlier, but now it seems that Jupyter is becoming smarter day by the day. So I think now they're able to understand so you can directly install your libraries in your on your Jupyter notebook. Is that clear? Does it answer your question? Whoever is asking, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sajal Jain, okay. So basically, I need to install this library pip install. Let me just do it. Control C. And since it is running without a bang, so Control V, run it. So, okay. So this is doing my right. So requirement already satisfied, and it is telling me that new release of pip is available. That means basically it is telling me that your pip is become old. So you are on 23.2.1. So my version of pip is 23.2.1. It is saying to upgrade to 23.2, and it is even giving me the command to upgrade my pip, but I'll not do that right now. Let us now come back to using the pip command, right? Using the whois command. So this is the code which is there. Let me just run it for you guys. So let me just do it. Yeah. So let me first run the code and then I will explain it to you guys. Okay. So basically, I'm saying I'm making two calls to whois. This is the first call, and this is the second call. In the first call, I'm giving a valid URL www.google.co.in. In the second call, I'm giving an invalid URL, but let us see. This is it. So the moment I do it, then this valid URL, this line gets printed here because of my this thing. Basically, this let me just clear it out and let me just show it to you again. So basically, you can see now better that this who is with the URL of the website within strings. It must be within quotes, because if it is not within quotes, then Python will not understand what it is. It is giving me this thing: domain name, registrar user, IANA, that is the International Authority of Name Authority, date, creation, expiration, name server, so many things. So basically, you as a user of the internet, if you're going to do any web scraping, you should know the details about the target of your scrape. If you want to scrape some data from Google or from GitHub or from whatever website, then if you want to know the details of that particular web server, then this is the way the this thing to do it. Now let me show you the other listing. Let me remove this valid URL. Let me print with the invalid URL. So what do I get? Yeah. Notice one thing, that even though my URL is invalid, the whois command is able to find many things about this invalid URL also. So basically, the
सर
domain.
ये तो print कमांड है, तो इसमें तो जो प्रिंट करेंगे वही रिटर्न कर रहा है, इसमें इनवैलिड कैसे दिखा रहा है?
नहीं, ये see, I didn't get your question. Come again. Invalid print command. You are getting a
This
little.
this is a print input, huh?
I think some.
Quote. We have placed a text invalid URL.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's just like the print. There's no other thing.
Okay. I think I've understood what you're saying. Let me comment this out. Okay. Let me write. I have understood what you're trying. What you see. Let me say. Let me say x is equal to. All right. No problem. Now I am saying print x. Is it okay now? Let me run it now.
So my question is, you can comment the topmost line, that means print invalid. Okay, this is just the
this can remove. Yeah, no problem. So now, what the point I'm making is that even with when the first part of the URL is invalid, the whois is smart enough to understand that this is that the domain is GitHub, right? And it is able to give you so many details about the particular domain. So, but suppose I was to remove this also. Let me put another X here. Now what will I get? Surprising, it is still giving us something about domain name xxx.com. That means xxx is no, sorry. It is let me put some different this thing. Let me put 333. So it is some GoDaddy.com. So I presume that 333.com might be some website on GoDaddy.com. I don't know. The point I'm trying to tell you guys is that whois can be used to get the details about a particular website. You can know things like the domain name, the registrar, server, creation date, expiration date, name, server, status, email, DNS, name, organization, city, state, zip code, etc., etc.
Sir, if we don't write .com, .org, .in, still it will be able to give all these details?
Let me your guess is as good or as mine. Let me try. Oh, it is. Oh, sorry, it is here. No, I should have removed here. Yeah, it's all null now.
Right, sir. Right, sir.
So it is not able to understand this xxx.333. It's not able to get anything. So now it is all null, right? Yeah, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So let's move ahead. Okay, so I think we can move ahead. I think there are some site which says there's a comment. I'll read it out. A site which says HTTPS says that it's an SSL certificate. Yeah, we'll talk about S. Don't. Well, that is where the S in the. We'll talk about SSL. I hope if we get time today, we'll try and talk about that. Let's move ahead. Okay, so let's move ahead. Okay, so this we have done. Then let's talk about a thing called a user agent. This is important because I am told by Balaji that you guys are basically into hacking. So whenever you want to do hacking, and whenever you want to do web scraping, these days the servers have become very smart. So if you try to do too many requests, if you try to create automated request using the same browser, then the server will come to know that you are the guy and you are using the same browser, the same IP address, the same machine, and so many things. So let's understand this concept of user agent header. I told you that the HTTP request consists of a start line and a header. And amongst the many items in the header, if there are 20 items in the header, if there are 20 items, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, one of these items is also a user agent. So user agent is something which when you send a request, whether through a browser or through a library like request to a server, your user agent field is sending the server certain items about you. See, the original purpose of creating the user agent was to make the server as per your device. For example, if you're on a laptop, the same website looks different. But if you're on a mobile phone, Apple phone, or an Android phone, the same website looks different. Why? This is because if you are accessing that website from your laptop or from your mobile phone, then the user agent going to the server from your device is different. So the basic idea of creating the user agent was to basically tell the server that what kind of device you are using so that they can optimize the display for your device. If it's a small device, they have a different display. If it's a large device, they have a different display. So that is what it is all about. All right. User agent is one of the many standard request headers. So amongst the many header fields, which are, I told you, key value pairs separated by colons. So one of these keys is user agent, right? It identifies the request sender's device, which includes information about the device type, operating system, browser name, and version. So when the user agent would consist of many different types of information. Let me clear this out. Let me just do it again. So it will talk about the device type, the operating system, the browser name, if it's a Chrome or a Safari or a Firefox or a Microsoft Edge or whatever version. So these would be sent by the device in the request. So they will be all packed into your request in the form of the header. So one of the fields of the request header will be the user agent. So I hope it is clear. So a user agent looks like this. A typical user agent would look like this. It will look like this. So it always starts with Mozilla 5.0 because this is a historical artifact. You'll always find it. So this is covered. Then system information. System represents the operating system version and the CPU architecture. So what kind of operating system you're using, whether you are Windows, iOS, Android. So this operating system information. Then platform. Platform means the rendering engine and its version. You can do your own research. I have not gone into my details, but this is one of the parts of the user agent. And the browser information provide about the web browser being used and its version. So these are the items so user agent is one of the headers of the request, HTTP request which is sent from the client to the server, and it consists of these 1, 2, 3, 4. So first is your first, then second, then third, and the fourth. So these are the 4 things which a typical user agent will have. We'll do it. Let's do how to find your user agent using online services. So so this is there, this thing. So there's a clickable link. If I open it, it takes me to this site, what's my ua.info. So it takes me to this website, what's my ua.info, and it can see that Mozilla 5.0, Windows NT 10. Win64, Apple WebKit, Chrome, Safari. So this is my user agent. This is my user agent of my machine. If you access this website from your mobile phones, you will get a different user agent. You might get some Android or something. I'll just show you guys. So okay. So this is what the yeah, we got lost. But you can find the user agent on your phone, on your from your browser also. I'll just show you. So you go to this thing and you do more tools, and you do developer tools. So let me just repeat this thing. I've done it very quickly. So if you can see update here, then more tools, then developer tools. So this website, this kind of a window will open out from this thing. Then you do this. Then wait. Then these 3 clicks you click, and you do more tools, and you do network conditions. So then you will be able to, let me just show this to you. So I'll get this network conditions. And in that, there is a use browser default user agent. So now what I'll do is I will remove this. And the moment I remove it, I get this. When I click here, let me just show this to you guys. You can see that I can change my user agent to Android, BlackBerry, Chrome, Firefox, whatever, right? So I am supposed to be in a Chrome Windows. Is where I am. So what I'll do is I'll select Chrome Windows, and then this box will contain my user agent. I can just copy it and I can show it to you guys. It'll be, so this is the user agent, which is exactly same this with the 537.36 at the end. And if you remember, I showed it to you guys on my this thing also, 537.36, and this was also 537.36. So it is the same user agent. So how to find your user agent? I hope it is clear to everyone. Anybody has a question? Then we'll move ahead. Anyone? Okay.
So what is the use of a user agent?
See, it is, I told you initially it was meant so that the server could tailor the response depending upon your device. You can try it out. You change your user agent. If you're suppose on a laptop, you change your user agent to a iOS, and then you access the web service. You will get a different display than the one you get when you are using a Windows Chrome, because the server is now thinking that you are accessing the website from a Apple phone. So it will send the it will send the response in such a way that it looks good on an Apple phone and not on a web browser, because the look on a web browser is different from that on an Apple phone. This was the initial purpose, but nowadays servers use the user agent to do some even they watch the person, the clients using the user agent, because there are so many bad agents around. People scraping web, people trying to download data, people trying to do hacking. So if they find that the same user agent is again and again doing something, then they can maybe blacklist that user agent or that particular device. Is that clear? Does it make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I think now, okay. So let us come to our main topic of today. That is the our request library. So we'll talk about requests, but you see, there are the request library is called requests. It is not request. It is not request. It is request. That means it's a plural, right? And it has a function, or we can call it a function called request. So you can have requests dot request and something, right? So there are two ways of doing the same thing. Suppose you want to get data from some website. The first way you could do it was requests dot request within bracket, and the first parameter will have to be your get, and then other parameters. This is the first way of doing the things. The second way is that you do requests dot get, and then you put some data in it. So the same thing can be done in two different ways for all the verbs, for get, for post, for put, and for delete. So let me just repeat it. So suppose you wanted to do a delete. So there are two ways of doing a delete. The first way would be requests dot request within bracket, within quote, delete. This is the first parameter, and then other optional parameters. The second way would be requests dot delete, and then maybe the URL of whichever website or whatever you want to do. So these are the two different ways of doing the same thing for all the verbs. For this verb get, post, put, and delete. All right. Does it make sense? Anybody, any question on this? Because this is very important concept. Anyone? All right. So I presume you have understood this. So, okay. Source code for the request.api on GitHub. We'll have a look at it very shortly. But let us look at the signature of the request method or function. So note one thing. It is request. So there is a request object also, and there is a request function also, and there is a requests library also. So these are three different things: request object, request function, and requests library. I'm stressing because this took me some time to understand. So basically I thought that let me shortcut it for you guys. You should not waste the time I had to waste to understand these things, because I'm basically a self-learner. So this is one way, this is two, this is three. All right. So we are talking about this request function, or we can call it request method. I like to call it a function because it is actually not part of any library, any class. So it is basically a function, right? So that is why I've specified also in my, let me just this thing. I'm saying not, we are talking about studying of the request.request function. So its signature is this: method, URL, and quargs. So, as I'd, if you have covered my functions class, you will remember that we talked about quargs also. So basically, there are two compulsory, parameters to which you have to give the value. Others you don't. Those are method and URL. The method may be get, options, head, post, put, patch, delete. So these are the 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So these are the 7 verbs which can take place this method. So any one of these 7 can go into the first parameter method, because if you don't give, then the request library doesn't know what to do, what you want to do, whether you want to get some data, whether you want to use options, whether you want to get the head of the response of the server, whether you want to post something, whether you want to update, that is put something or patch something or delete something. The second parameter is the URL for the request object. No, just now, this is a bit confusing, but I'll make it very clear. So let me just clear this out and let me just do it again. So when this request method is executed, it sends to the server a request object. Rather, it's called a prepared request object. I will not go into those details. It's called a prepared request object. And the server gives with a response object. So when you call the request method or function, giving it the verb and the URL, you are behind the scene, a request object is created. A request object means an object of the class request. I'll show it to you guys. And that object is sent to the server, and the server then uses that request object and sends you back a response object. Is it clear so far? Let me just stop for a second and then we'll move ahead. Any questions?
Clear, sir.
Okay. And so the first is this method is here. This URL is here. And then the quarks. The quark can be params, data, JSON, headers, cookies.
All are key value pairs.
All are key value pairs. And they all have got default values. So if you don't give any one of them, also it is fine. But the two basic parameters, that is your method and URL, they don't have any default values. That is why you have to give them values. If you don't give them values, then they will not. Then it will throw an error. All right. So we'll talk about this. Don't get. And what it returns is a response object. So when the server sends you back whatever, I'll show it. As I told you in my day one, I will never say anything which I cannot prove in code. I will not tell you something which I can't prove, right? I will prove everything and anything which I say. So when I'm saying that it's a response object and somebody says, prove it to me that's a response object, I am in a position to prove it to you guys that it is a response object. But let us come back to this over here and let us have a look at this API. It's not really your concern because you guys are not into you guys are not into programming per se, but more into hacking, as I understand. But you can see in fact, this is the docstring of the request method, and this we can show it here also. I can show you guys the docstring of the this thing also. Let me just show you. Import. Yeah. So this is basically a repetition of what we did in one of the earlier classes. I don't know which one. I think I told you. Did I tell you about docstring? If I remember correct, can someone tell me whether?
Yes, sir, you did.
You are aware of what is the docstring? Anyone?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, the I told you that when you have any class or any method, the first line of code, if it has three double quotes and something, and then three double quotes, then this dot doc attribute will take out this and print it for you guys. So if you and the doc is basically for the user, right? So if you're stuck up anywhere writing a script and you're not able to understand how to take things forward, you can always try to find the doc string of that particular listing, right? So that was about the doc string. So and you can see that all the parameters are here, and it see there's one very good thing about Python scripts. You know, it even tells in the doc string. See, this is where the doc string ends. Here it is even showing you how to import and how to do a call and then write. Okay. So basically, and this, as I told you, this triple this thing. This is basically when you are working on a Python inbuilt interpreter called idle. It's a very basic kind of interpreter. Nobody uses it for any production kind of code, but this is used, right? So let us run this code on our this thing, right? So let us do it. Okay. Let me just run this code for you guys. So I'm just running this code and I'm running it, right? So don't get it'll just take a second to because it's accessing the internet. Yeah. Okay. So let me explain the code to you. So what I'm doing, there is a very, I don't know whether you guys are aware of it. There's a very famous website called Gutenberg. And if I remember correct, Gutenberg was the guy who invented the printing press. So basically, what this, as I all guys might be aware that every every book which is printed, it has got a copyright for only a specific period. I think it is the 40 years, 30 years, or the lifetime of the author, right? So after that guy dies or the time period is over, then that book becomes open source. So what Gutenberg is doing is basically all those old books which are not copyrighted anymore, whose copyrights have expired, they have put them online, famous books. So I've accessed this one file called this thing, and this is the URL. This is basically the URL. So my URL is this HTTP Gutenberg define, and I'm creating a response object from the request library by using request.request, and I'm giving method equal to get, and I'm giving URL equal to guten.url. So my response object is my RESP underscore object. So this is basically an object of the type response. Let me show it to you that it is response. Let me just comment out this whole thing. So I've commented out this whole thing. Let me print. Let me just do print type. Let me just do this. It'll take a few minutes because again it is to go to the website and just take out the data and yeah. So it is showing me. So if you can see this line of code is giving me class requests dot model dot response. In fact, this is giving me a lot of hints about, suppose I was to look for the source code of this file, this class. This is a class basically. Don't remember I told you in Python, classes always start with a capital letter. So it is starting with a capital letter, so you can be sure that it's a class, right? But The point is that request.models response tells me that this class is probably defined or in this file. Let me just try and access this file. Let's do it, right? Just for you guys to understand, Let me do. So yeah, I found it. So this is my, and in fact, let me just take a second, to tell you a few tricks. Now, suppose I want to read this file, it's very complicated file. So what I'll go inside this file, I'll do Control A, it copies and I'll copy it. And then what I will do is I will paste it in. My favorite app is Notepad++. You guys can have your, but I suggest use Notepad. It's a very good this thing. It's totally free, open source. So just wanted to show you a small trick. Notepad++ I'm opening, right? And then I'm doing File, New, and I'm pasting it, right? So why I'm doing it now? Let me save this file. Save as. Let me just do it .py. .py. I'm saving it as new to .py, and it is being saved in my folder called documents. Right? So no, it's there. Sorry, let me just save it in a different place. Let me just do it in. Just 1 second. Don't just bear with me. So I'm just maybe I'll do it in this doc. I'll do it in documents. I'm saving this file as new.py. All right. Now what happens? You see, the why I'm saying I wanted to show you is that now I can collapse. So I'm collapsing all these things. So this is a class request encoding mix. Request. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for this class called request, which is a request coming from some other class called request hooks mixin. Let's not worry about that. It's a user created class used to prepare a class prepared request. I will talk about prepared request also if we get the time, which is sent to the server. So as I told you guys, the moment I do requests dot request within bracket method comma URL, and then I send that and I execute that command, it creates a request object, rather a prepared request object, and sends this object to the server. And all these parameters which I showed you is visible over here. So note that we are looking at the source code of the request class, not the source code of the request function. Okay. So is it clear so far? Because I don't know whether it's already 8:30. I don't know. Does it make sense? Anyone? Any questions? Yeah. No questions. So either things are very clear or things are very confusing. Anyway, I presume things are very clear. So let's move ahead. Okay. So now what I've done, I have now this response object. These are all the various attributes. In fact, there is a very good way of finding out the attributes of an object. Let me show it to you. Suppose you don't know, it can so happen that you have forgotten that what are these attributes of, suppose you don't know these attributes, status code, URL, cookies, object elapsed. So basically, encoding is giving you this encoding. The status code is very important. It's giving you 200. The URL is Gutenberg and like that. So, but suppose you have forgotten this. Let me just show you how you can get it, right? Let me just show you guys. So let me write print dir. So let me do this. Just take a second. Taking longer than usual. Yeah. So you can see that I'm getting all these attributes of the response object. So things like dict, dir, dir, doc, enter, then cookies, then there is and this is alphabetically, URL, which we showed URL, then status code, text, reason, raw. So all the attributes and methods of the response object can, if in case you forget, you can always find it from here. All right. So I hope that is clear. So let's move ahead. So you can see all these on your own. You can see all these responses on your own. Status code is 200. The URL is the same which we had taken in the request. So basically, the URL we sent in the request is coming back in the response as a response object dot URL. So this property of the object which is coming back from the server to the client is containing the URL of the server in this attribute of the response object. Is it clear? Let me just stop because I don't know whether you guys are, because I think that so it's the Shara time, holiday time, and you guys are into class. So are you able to follow what I'm saying? For a second, let me just stop and take some feedback from you guys.
Yes, sir. Very much.
Okay, fine. So let's move ahead then. Okay. This I've already shown. Header attributes of the response. So now we are, let's talk a little bit about the response object. So I told you about the request method, and I'm talking about the response object. And by the way, this is one very important thing which I discovered today. The response object also contains the request object. That means if you're sending the request object to the server and you're getting the response object back from the server to the client, then that response object which comes back. So when you are doing R or whatever you want to name is equal to requests dot request within bracket maybe get and then some URL maybe google.com again in quotes. So this R is your response object. The return is your response object, and this response object also contains the request object. I will show it to you how it contains the request object, right? But just bear with me for a minute. So we can get the header of the. So let me just do this. Let me just let me just comment this out. Creating problems. Oh, sorry, it is R. So I'm so sorry. It is the I put R over here, whereas it will be response obj. me comment this out also. So this whole thing is commented out. I'm having only one line. Let me just print it. Okay. So basically now I'm talking about that the theory which I gave you guys. So this response object, the header which has come back from the server, it is having these key value pairs, date, this thing, server, Apache, last modified, Lana date, accept range, whatever bytes, content length so much, content type text HTML. So basically, my this this line of code is giving this. Is it clear so far? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me now let me just do this again. I have to change this R into response object. And I have to put the quotes here. And I have to remove this. So let me run it again. Let me now comment this out.
So you have to put response object over here also. Type response object dot headers.
Yeah, I put it. Okay. Yeah. That's right. Thank you. That's why it gave an error. It is it's taking a long time. I have a slow connection, I think. So maybe it's taking much more time than it should. Okay. I just want to show you. So basically what is happening? I'm getting an output requests structures case instance insensitive dict. So basically this is giving me, see, that is why the naming conventions are so important. It's giving me a dict. That means I probably can cast it into a dict, right? Let me try it. Let me just see if I can cast this into a dict, right? Let me just comment this out also. This is not request. This is something, this is basic programming, right? Print, dict. So let me just run this first and I'll explain it to you guys, right? Okay. So basically, I am able to understand that this is the previous line of code had given me something dict. So I could understand that that object is an object which is or of a class which is subclass from the dictionary object or dictionary class of Python. Therefore, if I can cast it into a dictionary, right? Remember, you can always cast the child into the parent. If you have an animal object, if you have an animal class and you create a cat class out of it, and you say C, which you create, which is an instance of cat, then you can always cast this C into an animal. Same is what I've done over here. I've converted this thing into a dictionary, and that is why it's now a proper dictionary with all those data inside it, right? Date, GM, server, last modified, and all that. Does it make sense? Any questions? This is not today's class, but anyway. So let me do the headers we have done. Print. Check out the source code. See all the we can all the int we have done. Okay. So now I'll talk about using the iter line method. Now this is a very just I wanted to show you guys about this because one of the reasons why Python is so popular is because it has a concept of iterable. And iterable, as I told you guys, is any collection which is consisting of items is iterable, provided it implements a so-called iter method. We'll not go into the technicality, but basically the point is that r dot iter lines creates an iterable. I will show it to you. Before I run this code, let me just again put it in triple quotes to comment it out. And let me write print. There's a function of the response object called iter underscore lines. Let me run it. Oh, what happened?
It's a variable name. R.
Yeah, this is for
R. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Response. Okay. So let me just run it again. Okay. So it is saying that generator object response dot iter lines. So we didn't do generator functions because I wanted to quickly take you guys to classes and all, but it's there in my book. There's a small, maybe a few lines, maybe 3 or 4 paragraphs on the generator functions. You can have a look at it. So basically, it's this thing, right? So let us now comment this out again. And let us run this now. And I'll have to do response object. And let me remove this also. Let me run this. So it will iterate over the response object. See, now I put these X's over here just to separate each output. So I'm getting what B doc type, this thing, then this thing, then this thing. So these are all the items from this. This is a Gutenberg license included in this book. So if you read, this is basically a Tale of Two Cities, that famous book. Let me see. See, A Tale of Two Cities, if you can see this. So this is basically this book, and the entire text of this book is available here, right? So that is what it is. So, okay. So shall we stop here? I think we have covered enough for one day. If we do too much, then, I don't know. Balaji, are you there? I think we have lost Balaji. So any questions so far? Or would you like me to continue or should I stop over here?
So enough for the day, I think.
I think it's enough for one day. If we do too much, then it might backfire. It's the HTML I've shared with you guys, and so go through it. Most of the things it was done in a hurry, so हो सकता है कि सब चीजें उसमें cover नहीं हुई. I am not able to hear anything. This is old message.
No, I am here, sir. I am very much here.
Balaji, I think by and large I am done.
Yeah, no problem.
So
you can drop off, no problem. I'll spend some 10-15 minute time with the children.
All right. Okay, then. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so could you get a sense of request? So powerful tool.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We can get anything from, or we can get the desired data from the any website we want to from the request tool.
Correct.
As far as we have understand from this session.
Now we'll go to the real world. Give me just 1 second. All of you have subscribed my channel, is that right? YouTube channel?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If not, please do that, a small favor to me.
Name of the channel is?
Cyber Vidyapeeth Foundation. I'll just send you the link.
Yeah, that is already done.
Okay, so I've just